life can feel confusing and overwhelming. That is why the wisdom we find in books often becomes our guide. Author Mark Manson once shared the 22 books that changed his life, and today we will walk through them together. Think of this as a journey across philosophy, psychology, self-improvement, and life lessons that can make us stronger and wiser. The first book is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. This Roman emperor kept a private journal of thoughts that were never meant to be published, yet became a foundation for Stoic philosophy. The lesson is simple. You cannot control the outside world, but you can control your response. Pain, loss, and setbacks are part of life. When you remind yourself that everything passes, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. Next is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. He was a Holocaust survivor who endured concentration camps and still managed to find purpose. His insight was powerful. Those who had meaning in their lives could endure almost anything. Happiness is not found by chasing pleasure, but by dedicating yourself to a responsibility, a mission, or even the love you feel for others. The third book is The Denial of Death by Ernest Becker. Becker argued that most of human behavior is driven by the fear of death. We build cultures, religions, and even chase achievements to feel immortal. Once you accept death, you can live with honesty, courage, and authenticity. Then comes The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Some love it, others fear it. But the truth is, power exists in every human relationship. Greene shows us strategies drawn from history, from Caesar to Napoleon, about influence and manipulation. Even if you never wish to manipulate others, learning these laws protects you from being manipulated yourself. Next is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F by Mark Manson himself. This book became famous for its blunt message. Life is short, and we have limited energy. Instead of caring about everything, we must choose what truly matters and let go of the rest. Growth and strength come from solving problems, not avoiding them. The sixth book is Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. This is a sweeping history of humanity, from hunter-gatherers to modern societies. Harari explains how shared myths, like religion, money, and nations, allowed humans to cooperate in large numbers. The lesson here is that much of what we take for granted is a story, and we have the power to change our stories. Another important work is Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book is about small changes leading to massive results. Your habits shape your identity, and your identity reinforces your habits. If you want to change your life, start with one tiny improvement every day. A 1% change compounds into huge transformation over time. We also have Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. The Nobel Prize-winning psychologist describes two systems of thought. System 1 is fast, emotional, and instinctive. System 2 is slow, logical, and deliberate. Both are useful, but both can also mislead us. Becoming aware of these systems helps us make better decisions. Another is Influence by Robert Cialdini. This book uncovers the psychology of persuasion. Reciprocity, scarcity, authority, consistency, liking, and social proof are 6 universal principles that explain why people say yes. Once you see them, you realize how often they are used on you in marketing, sales, and relationships. Then we move to Flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Flow is the state of total immersion where you lose track of time and feel fully alive. Whether in art, sports, or work, flow is what makes life fulfilling. The key is to find challenges that stretch your skills without overwhelming you. Another life-changing book is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. It teaches us that suffering comes from living in the past or the future. Peace is found only in the present moment. By observing your thoughts without judgment, you can step out of endless worry and into awareness. Also on the list is The Blank Slate by Steven Pinker. Pinker argues against the idea that humans are born with no nature. He shows that biology and evolution play a huge role in shaping who we are. Understanding human nature can make us more compassionate and realistic. Then there is The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck. It begins with the famous line, "Life is difficult." Once you accept this, you can grow through discipline, love, and spiritual development. Real love is not simply a feeling but a commitment to nurture another's growth. Next comes Principles by Ray Dalio. Dalio is a billionaire investor who shares the principles that guided his life and business. He believes radical truth and radical transparency lead to better decisions. His message is that clear principles create consistency when life feels chaotic. Another essential book is The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Though written for battle thousands of years ago, its wisdom applies to business, politics, and even daily challenges. The key lesson is that the greatest victory is the one won without fighting. Strategy and patience matter more than brute force. We also see The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. This novel tells the story of a shepherd who follows his dream in search of treasure, only to find the treasure within himself. It reminds us to pursue our personal legend, to listen to our heart, and to recognize that the journey matters as much as the destination. The Wisdom of Insecurity by Alan Watts is also here. Watts shows us that life is uncertain, and our attempts to cling to security create anxiety. Freedom comes when we stop resisting change and embrace the flow of life. Next is The Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins. He explains evolution not just as survival of the fittest organism, but survival of genes. This book changed how people think about biology and human behavior. It teaches us that cooperation and altruism can also be products of evolution. The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kashimi and Fumite Koga is another transformative book. It presents Adlerian psychology in the form of a dialogue. The core idea is that freedom and happiness come when you stop seeking approval and take responsibility for your own life. Another book is Meditations on First Philosophy by Descartes. This classic of philosophy challenges us to doubt everything until we find something we cannot doubt. Descartes concluded with "I think, therefore I am." It teaches us to question assumptions and seek truth. The final works include classic texts on philosophy, psychology, and practical living. Together they form a toolkit for navigating existence. The beauty of Mark Manson's list is that it shows us how broad learning can transform us. From ancient Stoics to modern psychology, from spiritual wisdom to scientific discovery, each book offers a lens to see life differently. When you combine these insights, you learn 3 timeless lessons. First, life is short and uncertain, so do not waste it on things that do not matter. Second, growth comes through discipline, responsibility, and facing challenges. And third, happiness is not found in chasing pleasure but in living with purpose, connection, and awareness. If even one of these books inspires you to think differently, then your life will never be the same again. Reading does not just add knowledge. It reshapes the way you see the world. And when you change your perspective, you change your destiny.